Okay, so hi everyone, good evening. Thank you for accommodating us tonight. All right, so I'm Korina Mercado. My main background is more on industrial engineering, and currently I'm working for an airline here in the Philippines. So I'm a strategy, analytics, and optimization manager. Also, I have my own consulting business, Konsult NZ. If you would want to check it out, you may do, please. And then now I'm with Tim Gaffney under Gaffney Institute US. We are gonna introduce today to you the newest methodology, Agile Sigma. All right.
All right.
I know you're excited to learn. All right. So Tim, it's just a brief introduction about me, so you can take the floor now. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Karina. And thank you everyone who's joined the webinar today. We really appreciate your participation and look forward to potentially working with you as Karina and I are launching the Gaffney Institute to provide business agility services, training, consulting, et cetera. And we'll talk about today sort of our high road offering, our road to agility, which is what we'll talk about in today in the webinar for how businesses can achieve agility. And so we'll start with some basic blocking and tackling, and we'll work through the Agile Sigma methodology, a little bit about the Institute, and then about the road to agility. Um, so I will go ahead and minimize this, and we'll get started with the presentation.
Okay.
So this is the Road to Agility overview webinar. I'm Timothy T. Gaffney, the Agile Sigma methodology developer and creator. I am the Gaffney Institute founder and CEO. I'm a certified Agile Sigma Master Black Belt, and I am a Six Sigma Black Belt certified by AT&T's Center of Excellence in 2009. Here's my information, and here's Korina, as she mentioned, an Agile Sigma consultant, Gaffney Institute SVP and COO, and also Konsult NZ founder. Her information is here as well. So why are we here today? Well, because we want to answer these questions for you. What is agility? What is Agile Sigma? What is this road to agility I hear about? What steps can I take to achieve agility? And how can I learn more about this road to agility? So feel free to submit any questions you have throughout the webinar via the chat room, and we'll have time at the end to answer your questions. So here's our agenda for today, the Road to Agility Overview Webinar. Agility defined is our first agenda item. Then we'll move on to Agile Sigma defined, and we'll talk a little bit about the Institute. And then we'll move into the Road to Agility described. And then we'll wrap up with next steps, the Road to Agility webinar series. What is agility? A lot of people in business today are talking about they want to be agile. As I taught at a local community college here in Chicago, many of my students would come to Agile Sigma overview sessions and say, my boss tells me he wants me to be agile and our company wants to be agile. We just don't know how. So the road to agility is one of the ways to help address those questions that I've received in the past. And let's start with some definitions. So what is agility? Everybody wants to do it, but what is it? Well, if you look in Wikipedia, you can see that it's pretty much a sports type thing, rapid whole body movement, change of velocity or direction in response to a stimulus. So that's what agility in general means physically. Organizational agility, if we apply it to a business, a high degree of organizational agility can help a company to react successfully to the emergence of new competitors, the development of new industry-changing technologies, or sudden shifts in market conditions. So that's organizational agility. Let's drill it down a little further. Business agility. Now, there was a definition in Wikipedia that I thought was really good. Business agility, the ability of an organization to rapidly adapt to market and environmental changes in productive and cost-effective ways. So that's the essence of what business agility is, and according to Wikipedia, and some synonyms. And these are words that I think any company would want to have associated with their company. If they're agile, they're nimble, they're quick, they're lively, they're swift, responsive, clever, and alert. So those are some synonyms, some attributes that you would want to have associated with your company if you had achieved agility. So to net it out, if you have the ability to respond successfully to changing business conditions rapidly and effectively through efficient utilization of both your organizational intelligence and capabilities, then you have agility. So there it is. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to submit them in the chat room, and we'll get to them and address them at the end of the webinar. So moving along in our agenda, Agile Sigma defined. So what is Agile Sigma? Well, Agile Sigma is a customer-centric business process improvement methodology. Gillian, if you could mute yourself, Gillian, please. Thank you very much. Methodology that iteratively delivers significant process improvements, resulting in optimal operational efficiency and process sigma levels. So how was it created? Well, I created Agile Sigma by integrating the structured, data-driven, statistics-based discipline of Six Sigma with the iterative sprint techniques, team-driven improvement approaches used in the Agile development method. The goal was to iteratively deliver process improvements that matter to the internal and external customers, resulting in significant impacts on key customer-centric metrics and optimal process performance. So that's the goal of Agile Sigma. So why did I develop it? Well, to address customer feedback, as we're all sensitive to what our customers tell us. Basically, as I was running Six Sigma projects as a black belt, my customers were telling me that the projects take too long and the impacts are limited. You gave me one improvement and then you put me into control. There was more improvement that you could have made. So they felt short, that they'd been kind of left with a short hand. So Agile, on the other hand, is fast and effective, team-driven and iterative, but typically a method for IT projects only. So it hasn't been a lot of use of Agile outside of IT. So also, I had actual experience as a Six Sigma black belt running projects and as a mentor for green belts. And also I ran Agile projects as a Scrum Master at AT&T. So based on those proven methodologies of the Six Sigma DMAIC methodology and the Agile development method, I knew that I was on solid ground to combine the best of these two methodologies into the new Agile Sigma methodology. So when did I develop this? Well, in 2017, I created Agile Sigma, the methodology, to deliver faster results for customers, optimized processes for our customers, and to really integrate the best of both and get the synergies from both Agile and Six Sigma for all organizations to benefit, essentially to democratize Agile and Six Sigma to make them available for everyone. I published articles starting in 2018 on isixsigma.com, an article entitled Introducing Agile Sigma, New Kid on the Block. And then I produced a series of articles this year called The Road to Agility, and also a new introduction for Agile Sigma. And I published those on a paid per article basis on graycampus.com. ANAAA, if you could mute yourself, please. Thank you so much. And in addition, Korina and I partnered on an article that's available on my LinkedIn page that's called Right Tool, Right Time. And so we also developed training in 2018, and we'll run through what classes that we developed so far. And then Agile Sigma was used by an alpha customer in 2018 and 2019 to accelerate a capacity expansion project for that local manufacturing operation. And it was used as the project management structure for 2 projects to improve the speed and quality of an inventory and ERP project in 2019. So we've done a little road testing. We're currently looking for a beta testing customer as well. And basically, so how can Agile Sigma help you? Well, use of the Agile Sigma methodology can address the problem, any customer pain for any process iteratively and quickly by combining the strengths of Six Sigma and the strengths of Agile development, addressing both the weaknesses of both of those methodologies and integrating them into the Agile Sigma methodology to deliver the optimal process performance for your customers. So let's talk a little bit about the Agile Sigma methodology. We all know DMAIC, if you're familiar with Six Sigma, the 5-phase process improvement methodology. Well, Agile Sigma is essentially the result of applying Six Sigma as a continuous improvement methodology to itself to create an improved, streamlined Agile Sigma. And it's a 4-phase methodology, and it basically is designed to improve processes more quickly initially and to achieve optimal levels as the goal. So the 4 phases are assess and plan. The first phase, to assess the current environment and plan the project out. Really get a good detailed plan developed. Then in measure and analyze, we define, measure, and analyze the key process output metrics. Document and analyze current and future state processes. And for those of you familiar with Six Sigma, we'll see some of the differences. And improve and validate is the 3rd phase, and that's where we improve the process and validate it using iterative agile sprint approach, and we confirm statistical significance and then roll out improvements. So this is really where the combination comes together, using agile techniques to quickly develop improvements and then validating them both by the team and with statistical analysis. Then in a typical Six Sigma project, you might stop after that first improvement, but we continue to iterate and optimize using agile sprint approaches to improve the process until either it's optimized or the project goal has been met. So that's Agile Sigma, the 4 phases in 1 page there. Now, in terms of why you'd want to use it, essentially to iteratively achieve optimized process performance. You can optimize your processes iteratively. And basically, you can think of in phase 1 and phase 2, the process is the process. It's the way it is. It's as is. The baseline is the Sigma level 0.0, let's call it. In phase 3, then we improve and validate and deliver that first improvement, and that would take us to Sigma level, let's say 1.0. Then in phase 4, we iterate and optimize. And this is where we deliver optimization improvements iteratively to achieve that optimum Sigma level, let's call it 2.0. Now, if we wanted to put these results on a process Sigma level across time and look at how the Sigma level would increase over time, you can see that the as-is baseline process is established in the measure and analyze phase. Then, as we discussed, we make that first improvement in the improve and validate phase. Maybe you get that Sigma level up to about 2.5. Then in iterate and optimize, we really begin to make those improvements and get that Sigma level up to, let's say, 5.0. That's where customer satisfaction is going to be maxed out and the maximum value is going to be delivered to internal and external process customers. So there is how the Sigma level can change over time by virtue of an Agile Sigma project. So how is Agile Sigma different? How do we stand out? Well, here are some attributes. It's streamlined, it's 4-phased for a project. It's customer-centric. It uses a standardized workflow-based methodology. It utilizes team expertise and knowledge-driven improvements, has rapid, iterative, time-boxed improvement cycles called sprints, built-in team validation and feedback, all the analysis tools that we know and love from Six Sigma. It's financially accountable and designed to deliver optimized processes. So those are the attributes. The real differentiators are it's streamlined. It's a 4-phase project approach. It's standardized, workflow-based, step by step by step. It has rapid, iterative, time-boxed improvement cycles and is designed to optimize processes. So those are the key differentiators between Six Sigma and Agile Sigma. So now with Agile Sigma, if you were looking for what business process improvement methodology should we use to address the customer pain our customers are feeling, well, that can be less challenging now because a more complete list of options is available, including Agile Sigma checks all the boxes: data-driven, customer-centric, statistically based, financially accountable, etc. And the delivery speed is fast. So really provides what we think is a superior option among those business process improvement methodologies available today. So business executives today are feeling the need for speed and agility to remain competitive, particularly with the pandemic upon us, and Agile Sigma can address those needs, particularly at this time. So a brief couple words about the Gaffney Institute. What is it? Well, again, customer-centric. That's what we're all about. Our enterprise here at the Institute is focused on providing training, consulting, and support services to individuals and organizations to promote the adoption, use, and evolution of the Agile Sigma methodology to improve business processes worldwide. And our mission is to promote, sustain, and evolve the Agile Sigma methodology using feedback from practitioners and customers to continually optimize the methodology's effectiveness and flexibility as evidenced by real-world business process improvements that matter to the customers. So what is the vision for the Institute? Well, as Korina and I looked into the future, we saw that partnerships are very important. We want to create and grow a network of practitioners and partners. We want to be preeminent in the industry to deliver the gold standard for Agile Sigma training and consulting to customers worldwide. We have to be agile. We have to embrace agile values at the Institute for all the things that we do and use the Agile Sigma tools and techniques as part of our process. We value feedback, and we want to utilize customer feedback to continually optimize our service delivery performance and capabilities. And we feel we are stewards. We're stewards to guide the evolution of the methodology, the services portfolio of the Institute, and the Agile Sigma body of knowledge. So that wraps up a little bit about what is Agile Sigma and what is the Gaffney Institute. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to submit them in the chat room, and we'll have time at the end to answer your questions. So now moving on, the road to agility. So that gives us some background on what is agility, what is Agile Sigma, what's the Gaffney Institute. Now let's get to the meat of the matter. What is this road to agility? Well, achieving agility is a process and a journey. The road to agility process steps include developing and fostering an agile-based vision and culture. You have to start with vision and culture. And that is really a two-step process. The first is developing the agile culture, defining what that agile culture you want for your company needs to be. And then the second step is an iterative step to foster and grow an agile culture. So you can think of 1A as planting the seeds in the garden, and 1B as adding the water and tilling the soil and adding the fertilizer and helping to grow that agile culture. We'll talk about how that iterative step fits in a second. The second key step on the road is to use daily scrums and team scrums. Begin to institute daily cadence for how things work. Use time box sprints. And we'll talk about how that helps the process and how the organization can become more agile by using these two simple agile techniques that have been embodied into Agile Sigma as well. And once the teams have used scrums and sprints for a while, then it would be time to take step 4 to plan and execute an Agile Sigma pilot. And then step 5, ultimately to plan and implement an Agile Sigma program. So that's the road to agility, starting with vision, working through some use of tools and techniques, and completing with a program, a full-fledged program for Agile Sigma. So here's how it looks graphically. You can think of this roadmap as kind of a little bit of a process map with some swim streams. The upper portion of the process flow here is where leadership operates, and you'll see down here is where the organization gets involved. So we start with step 1A to develop an agile-based culture. And the leadership team would iterate through the planning to develop what they want that culture to be like. And then they'd roll that out to the organization. And the vision and culture would be rolled out. Agile-based values, vision, mission, and goals would be rolled out to the organization. Then feedback from the organization would be used in step 1B, the first time, to foster and grow the agile-based culture. And the plans would be iterated through, refined, based on what did we learn when we rolled out that vision and culture? What was the response? Then adjust the plans and then roll out for step 2, scrums, using daily scrums and team scrums to get work done. Then following the same pattern, we would then move on to using the feedback from step 2 to, again, iterate through the plans, through the planning cycle with the leadership team, to then roll out the use of sprints, time box sprints for projects and initiatives. And then we would use the feedback from that step to iterate through the planning again, to roll out the Agile Sigma pilot project, and iterating through using feedback, final planning iteration, and then we would roll out the full Agile Sigma program and implement that across the organization. So that's the road to agility. That's the Agile roadmap. Feedback from that would be used to further refine and improve the program and to optimize that program over time. So why would you want to use the road to agility? Why would you want to travel down that road? Well, use of agile-based ceremonies, artifacts, and methodologies, which scrums and sprints and the associated documentation are. If you use those one step at a time to develop and foster an agile culture capable of responding to your changing business and customer needs, if you follow these steps to enable your organizations to improve processes iteratively, quickly, efficiently, and effectively, to accomplish project and operational goals as a team for your customer. So essentially, you'd follow this road to accomplish and achieve business agility. So let's talk about the steps for a minute. In terms of the first step, step 1A, call that reboot the mission. So there it is, step 1A, vision and culture. So the objective of 1A is to use agile-based values to refocus your vision, your mission, and goals to develop a culture that delivers responsive, innovative results iteratively over time to meet changing business and customer needs. So that's the mantra. So here's what the drill down for step 1A looks like. Basically refocus, re-engage, reboot, roll out, retool, reward, and then review iteratively. So that's the cycle of 1A, and basically establishes the groundwork for the plan for taking the road to agility and taking your organization along that journey. Some of the key inputs for this step are agile-based values, current values, mission and goals, customer needs and market conditions. You take all these into account. But one of the key inputs is the agile-based values, which would be the new thing included in the process. And these values can include things like, we value customers in order to create innovative products and optimal levels of customer service. We value feedback in order to create processes that are responsive to changing customer needs. We value individual expertise in order to create an atmosphere where everyone's contribution is valued. We value innovation in order to create an environment where trying new approaches is encouraged. So these are the kind of values you want to state and communicate and incorporate into those corporate value set that you have, and you communicate to your organization so that they see we're turning student body left and we're moving towards the land of agility. And here are the things, here's what it means. Here are the values that we embrace. Now, one of the keys to success in 1A is the leadership team walking the walk. Leadership teams can talk the talk, but leadership teams that walk the walk are the ones that win. So walking the walk in this sense means leadership teams can use the agile tools and techniques, daily scrums, sprints, etc., to reboot and roll out their agile-based mission, vision, and goals. So use the tools to make it happen, and then that value of knowing how it works carries through in the communication of how they are to be used and how their value can be delivered. So leadership needs to really lead this, and the values really need to be incorporated in. And these are the types of agile values that can be included. Certainly, this is not an all-inclusive list. Just an example. So step 1B, we call 1B the lather, rinse, repeat step, as often stated on shampoo bottles. This is one that you use over and over again. So that's why it's called that, to foster and grow an agile-based culture. And here it is, as you see the light green circles iteratively included in this process flow. These are traditionally steps taken by the leadership team and then rolled out to the organization. So step 1B is iterative, as I mentioned, and its objective is to foster and grow your agile culture by iteratively planning and rolling out agile-based tools and methods across your organization to achieve agility, using feedback from the last step. So the key thing is use the feedback from the last step and iterate through your plans and roll out tools, trials, and a structured program to foster and grow an agile culture. It's a planning step you repeat before proceeding through steps 2 through 5, using feedback each time from the last step. So you'll get pretty good at doing this step because you get to do it over and over again. No plan is perfect at the start, and using feedback as you roll things out will help to make that plan perfect moving forward. So step 2, Scrum on, using daily scrums and team scrums. And this is step 2. And this is where you want to use feedback from your rollout in step 1A, and you want to use that in your planning step 1B as input for plans to develop for step 2. Sounds like a lot, but it's basically use the feedback from the last step to plan the next one. So the objective here is you've got to foster the adoption and growth of agile values as evidenced by increased customer focus and flexibility. The results in an enhanced capability to respond quickly to changing customer and business needs, to recognize each individual's expertise and contribution to the team. So daily scrums and team scrums can really help to accomplish that. A daily scrum, if you're not familiar with it, is an agile ceremony where teams get together daily to share, coordinate, and communicate. Typically they're first thing in the morning, typically face-to-face, but not necessarily this time of the world. A lot of video conferencing going on for this today, and typically they're about 30 minutes. Shouldn't be that long to coordinate. And the agenda is very straightforward. Each team member briefly reads out the following: their accomplishments from the previous day, their plans for today, and any roadblocks that they've encountered. So that's what the daily scrum is all about. And then there's team scrums, which I used at AT&T as well as daily scrums. And that's a way you can get together with smaller groups and collaborate and get work done. Just work, work, work. 4 hours, 3 hours, whatever. And we'd set up calls and just be on the desktop sharing app, working through an improvement on a workflow, and do that day after day. So team scrum's very helpful of getting everyone together, everyone's opinion, and make those improvements and move forward every day. They're used to stimulate innovative solutions and problem solving. So you can use brainstorming techniques and other things like that to help to really mine out those innovative solutions. Individual skills are brought together to optimize the output. That's the goal, just like in a team scrum in soccer or in rugby, excuse me. And so basically daily scrums and team scrums can be used to instill a daily cadence of change. Some people don't live with a daily cadence of change. It might be every week or every month or something they're reading out on what they've done. This is every day you're reading out, here's what I did, here's what I'm going to do. And if I didn't get something done, there must have been a roadblock in the way. It also, they can be used to reinforce the value of individual contributions to team and to achieving goals. So it really helps to highlight the individual and the team. So that's really where it's a valuable tool and technique. And most importantly, to increase focus on the customer's needs and on eliminating the customer pain. So that can be a focus of each and every one of the team scrums and the daily scrums. So that's a little bit to get us started on the road to agility. Any questions at this point? And I'll continue if not. Korina, anything in the chat room that looks like it'd be important and helpful to bring up at this time?
Yeah, we don't have questions right now, Tim.
Okay. How much are we paying for questions, Korina?
I think we have one. It's Jeremy. Hi, Jeremy. Can you unmute, please, and ask your question directly to Tim?
Hi, Tim.
Hey, Jeremy.
Hi. I understand that the methodology makes improvement fast and iterative, but what are the risks that comes with this method? Because I find it like a just-in-time approach, and project plan will not be as concrete in the beginning. So, what can be the risk while doing the project?
What can be the what while doing the project?
The risk.
Yeah, because the plan will not be that concrete at the start of the project, right?
Oh, right, right. I see what you're saying. Yeah. So essentially, no plan is perfect at the beginning of any project, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's always as good as you know at that time. But in most cases, like in Six Sigma, I never changed my project charter much, even so, though some things changed. But in the Road to Agility approach, the leadership team is iterating through the plan each time, saying, we thought this, but now based on the feedback from our first rollout, we've learned that. So you have to incorporate that into the plan to make the plan current, flexible, and responsive to the feedback received.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. So it's I wasn't trying to say that the plan's not perfect, so just get started, but rather plan the first rollout for the vision and culture as best you can, listen to the feedback, and then improve how you do what you do in the next cycle. Okay.
But won't getting the feedback for each step delay the project or make it longer?
No,
No.
because that's a good question. Because the feedback, basically, you can be running the leadership team activities concurrent with the rollouts so that as soon as you're rolling out vision and culture, you're listening to the feedback. You're holding some focus groups. You're getting that information day 1, day 5, day 8. And you could set up a 2-week sprint for the leadership team to get ready to roll out scrums. And during those 2 weeks, you can begin incorporating that feedback and be ready to roll with your Scrum rollout on time with all the feedback incorporated. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I see.
So it's you're constantly listening.
Mm-mm.
The leadership team is working on that next revised set of plans. And I'm not talking about a 50% revision each time. It's like, 10, 20%. It's tuning up the plan based on the new knowledge that you have. Okay.
Yeah, get it. Thank you.
Okay, sure. It's like a financial estimate in Six Sigma. Before you start, you might say, I think we'll be able to get 1 million in revenue gain. At the end of the defined phase, you might say it's 1.2 million. At the end of measure, you might say it's 1.4 million. You follow me? It's just
Yeah, yeah.
you refine your estimate and get more exact as you move forward, and you learn what's working with the organization and what's not, and then you have to figure out how to address those things that aren't working to make it so that they do work in the future.
Yeah.
So great question, Jeremy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you too.
Appreciate it. Okay, I'll move ahead then. So step 3 is ready, set, go. And this is where using time box sprints in step 3 really helps for any projects or initiatives that the organization or corporation are undertaking. We can provide, the webinar series support for the organizations to use sprints, which are time boxed. And they can be 1 week long, 2 weeks long, 3 weeks long, depending on what the project or initiative need is. So you would iterate through step 1B using the feedback from your rollout of scrums as you plan the use of sprints in step 3. The objective is to solidify and build on those agile-based capabilities gained using scrums to foster the adoption and growth of additional agile values, as evidenced by innovative improvements driven by team expertise based on feedback and acceptance of change, and ultimately a team-based culture of change. So if you iteratively are rolling out new and improved and expanding agile techniques and ultimately methodologies, you will develop a culture of change in your organization. They will be ready to adapt to that new next step. And that's really what you want, is that culture of change to be pervasive. So a sprint, as I mentioned, is a time-boxed agile ceremony. And by that, I mean, for anyone familiar with the game of baseball, until the 3 outs are done, that inning continues. The inning can be a half hour, an hour, 2 hours. It can be any time at all. That's the way Six Sigma works, or other projects work today. You plan a phase and you hope it's finished in 4 weeks, but if it's not, it might take longer. However, a sprint is basically 2 weeks. You say you're going to get 3 things done. At the end of the 2 weeks, the clock stops, just like in a basketball game or a soccer game. When time's up, time's up. And either you won or you didn't. Either you got all 3 of those things done or you didn't. And then we'll talk about how you improve as you move forward through the sprint process. But basically, they're used to break down work or project goals into manageable increments for each sprint. So you break the project down and you conduct sequentially each of those sprints to iteratively achieve the project or work goals. And each sprint, you get to learn and improve how you're working as a team. So basically, sprints are packaged around meetings that start with a sprint planning meeting to plan the sprint scope. And that's typically called the sprint backlog. Then there's a sprint review and retrospective meeting or meetings held at the end of the sprint. And the sprint review is to review the results against goals with leadership. We plan to get these 3 things done. We got all 3 done, or we got 2 done, or we got more than we thought done. And then you use those results and how the team functioned during that sprint in a retrospective meeting to reflect and improve on how the team interacts in future sprints. So this is essentially Jeremy and others, where just like we talked about iterating through in step 1B, the sprint has its own little built-in review and retrospective at the end of each sprint, so that the teams using the sprints can improve how they do it and get better at predicting what they can get done in that time frame, and then accomplishing those goals and doing it more efficiently and effectively as a team each time. So the first sprint is the first learning experience. The second sprint, you get better. The third sprint, you're really humming, and then you really start to get going. So here's what a sprint might look like. Another Agile ceremony. Basically, the current process and the project or initiative goals are input into the sprint planning meeting. The sprint backlog is the output from that planning meeting, and then the sprint is conducted by the team, typically 2 weeks. At the end of the 2 weeks, the sprint review and retrospective meeting is held. And at the end, the outputs are a subset of goals achieved, incremental improvements, and feedback to improve the next sprint. So there's the feedback again to improve the next step, as you saw in the architecture of the road to agility as well. Now, daily scrums are used during the sprint to create an iterative daily rhythm for the team. So you conduct those daily scrums each day throughout the sprint. So this is where now you're combining on a project team. You've been scrumming for a while. Now let's build it into a time box sprint. You can break your 6-week project down into 3 2-week sprints, and you can identify your scope for each of those 3 sprints. And then you can use reviews and retrospectives to help you fine tune those plans as you move forward through the sprints. Multiple sprints are used to break down and achieve project goals iteratively, gaining efficiency with each sprint, as I've said. Now, here's an example of a project that I ran in 2018 using the Agile Sigma sprint techniques, where a client came to me and said that they had been working on a project for 6 weeks, they hadn't gotten anything done, and they needed some help quickly. So rather than try and implement a full methodology, we defined a 2-week sprint window to essentially begin the process of doing it properly. And then we essentially then expanded to the resource groups, additional resource groups, and we expanded our partner qualification process. Then in the 3rd sprint, we held a Kaizen. We expanded to include additional customers, the final 2 resource groups. So we essentially worked through the list of to-dos a couple at a time, a couple at a time, a couple at a time. By breaking that work down, the team was able to accomplish a lot more. And in 8 weeks, including a Kaizen in the middle of it, we updated all of the standard operating procedures, and we implemented the capacity management process improvements, and the project was completed. We eliminated a real capacity issue and basically a bottleneck in this magnetics factory, and they were able to meet their customer timeframes much more much more frequently than they had. So basically, this is an example of a project where we used some of the techniques of Agile Sigma and how the sprint helped us really accomplish that in a very short time frame. So step 4, push on. After you've really gotten the teams using sprints and they're familiar with scrums and everybody's using scrums and sprints to get their work done, then it would be time to utilize the feedback from that and plan step 4 for a pilot for Agile Sigma. And step 4's objective is to solidify and build on the Agile-based capabilities, yet again, gained via the scrums and sprints, by piloting and evaluating a structured methodology to foster the use of facts and statistics to drive decisions. Now, that's not like they wouldn't be used before, facts and statistics, but this would put a structured methodology around the use of the statistics and other analysis techniques. And then you'd evaluate the pilot results to gauge the effectiveness and efficiency of those Agile-based methods. How well did it go? So that's all built into step 4. So you want to pick an Agile-based methodology that's statistics-based, team-driven, customer-centric, rapid and iterative, optimization-focused, structured and modular, and streamlined. Well, if anybody noticed, that sounds like Agile Sigma, it does. So there are other Agile methodologies out there. And if you get to step 4 and you find, hey, there's 2 or 3 I want to compare, go ahead, run a pilot for several of them, see which of them works best. And maybe Agile Sigma will be the one that will be able to meet your needs for a pilot and ultimately a program. So you need to plan, initiate, and execute the pilot project using the Agile Sigma methodology. Here's what a typical project plan might look like, where you have some concurrent activities and some overlapping between assess and plan, measure and analyze, improve and validate, and the ultimate 4th phase, iterate and optimize. Now in step 5, once you've evaluated your pilot project or projects or alternate methodologies, then you would make a decision on step 5 to implement an Agile Sigma program if Agile Sigma was the methodology selected. And again, you would use feedback from the previous step to go through that plan refinement and rollout step of step 5. So hitting your stride, plan and implement an Agile Sigma program. So in step 5, the objective is really to build that solid foundation and really get to bedrock through use of a structured methodology to standardize the use of facts, data, and statistics to drive decisions across the organization to maximize the effectiveness of your Agile-based efforts, and to use the Agile Sigma program and projects across all organizations to optimize processes in response to changing customer and business needs with agility. So after you've said what the new vision is, after the teams have started using scrums, after the teams have started using sprints, and a pilot project has been implemented to sort of demonstrate to everyone this methodology or that methodology can work, then you would go to a full-fledged program. You'd plan, launch, and planning, launching, and directing an Agile Sigma program involves maybe establishing a center of excellence, maybe program management offices, project management offices, or PMOs, establishing support staff, documentation libraries, toolkits, project repositories, financial tracking applications, etc. So there's quite a bit involved, much like the infrastructure that we had at AT&T is what you see here, as typical for many programs at large companies. And basically integrating the Agile Sigma methodology components and tools into the standard operating procedure for the PMOs and the program offices. Now, a quick start approach for a company might be to implement Agile Sigma as an extension of an existing Six Sigma or Agile program or center of excellence. So if there's already that center of excellence or program management approach for Six Sigma or Agile Sigma can be built into that and used as an extension, so you don't have to start from scratch. Also, if you're already on the path to agility, let's say I'll pick on Jeremy. Jeremy, your company's already on the path to agility. You're already doing some of these things. Well, then you can say, maybe we've already been using scrums and sprints. Maybe we're ready for piloting something. So maybe we want to consider Agile Sigma as a process improvement methodology to understand and track your key metrics, achieve optimal performance quickly, improve your team performance and innovation. So you could start where support exists to develop Agile Sigma pilot project plans. You could say we're already an agile culture. We already have that agile mentality and mindset. Let's get started with this methodology. So you can consider a pilot project and training in Agile Sigma as a key component of your plans to implement those pilot projects and programs. And as we saw of the methodologies that are out there, this one checks all the boxes and is pretty darn fast. So again, if you're feeling the need for speed and agility, Agile Sigma can help. So if you're already halfway down the road, feel free to jump in with Agile Sigma right away. Or if not, you can go through the steps and start with the vision and culture and go through the steps and arrive at a pilot and a program at the end with the right methodology for you. So again, if there are any questions, we'll get ready to start answering them here at the end in just a minute. Korina, any
Okay.
questions based on that last point?
Yes, Tim, we don't have questions as of the moment. I think we can continue discussing.
Okay. Should we increase the rate from $10 per question to $20 per question?
I think we should.
Okay. Okay. We've got a new rate out there.
Sure.
And in terms of next steps, just to wrap up today, basically, to provide some context, the Institute offers a range of training and consulting services to support clients seeking to achieve business agility. The services include, but are not limited to, these listed here. So we have Institute certified training and certification services for new and current practitioners. We have a half-a-day Agile Sigma overview class. We offer a one-day fundamentals class that Korina is going through at this time. And that's sort of, you could consider that to be essentially a white belt class, the fundamentals. And then we have a 3-day yellow belt class and a 6.5-day green belt class. We plan to develop a black belt and master black belt class in 2021. I will mention that the overview fundamentals class are pretty much the same regardless of what skill level you're bringing into the training. But for yellow belt and green belt, we have tailored the programs. So if you are a Six Sigma practitioner today, your yellow belt and green belt training will be less than if someone doesn't have any training at all. If you're Agile trained, same is true. You have an Agile background, then the yellow belt and green belt training will be a little bit less for you than if you were starting without any training or experience or skills. So those are the classes we offer. And then for consulting services, we offer strategic, tactical, and operational at the strategic level. Our planning services are founded on the Road to Agility webinar series, which we'll talk about in a second, that builds on the Road to Agility we've talked about today. Additionally, we offer pilot program services to support the planning, rollout, and evaluation of pilots. Same is true for full program, planning support, rollout support, and ongoing support, as well as operational project-specific mentoring and support. So whether it's strategic, tactical, or operational, we can provide the consulting support for you. We're starting initially with the strategic planning services, including the Road to Agility webinar series. We can offer that to any company or organization. And as part of that, we would be developing into, do you want to do a pilot? Do you want to get some training, et cetera? So there are other items on this list that might be picked and chosen as we build from the Road to Agility webinar series. So what is the series? Well, basically learning how to achieve agility one step at a time. There's the Road to Agility, and what we've done is we've broken that down into step 1A is the first webinar for an hour. The second webinar includes step 1B and step 2. The third webinar is step 3, the fourth is step 4, and the fifth is step 5. So they're all 1-hour webinars, and we're offering the Getting Started package for 3 1-hour webinars. And then you can go for the whole enchilada and get the complete journey, all 5 one-hour webinars. And these are intended to be essentially learning tools or kicking off tools for each of the steps. So you could offer the 1A webinar series to the leadership team, and then they could get working on the 1A activities. And then they can take the second webinar as they're getting ready to execute step 1B and move into step 2, et cetera, et cetera. So the leadership team can benefit from these for how to do and accomplish these steps. And they can also be replayed to the organization, and individual members of the organization can use it as self-paced training, if you will, for what it's all about and what they can expect in each of these steps and what their role would be in terms of using the tools, techniques, participating in pilots and programs. So it can be used at the leadership level as well as the organizational level to have webinars that are self-paced and tailored to the company for their use to implement the road to agility. So if you're interested in scheduling those webinars or to discuss the Institute's training and consulting services, please feel free to send an email to Korina at mgmt@agilesigmainstitute.com. And those are the email addresses we're using, even though we're calling it the Gaffney Institute. And so basically, that wraps it up. And now it'll be time to talk about questions or comments. Korina, any questions in the chat?
Oh, we don't have a question right now.
Okay.
Okay, maybe you
Go ahead.
do a recall.
Yeah, any comments?
Yeah. Do you have any questions for Tim or for me regarding Agile Sigma? What projects are you currently working at right now? Maybe we can help you with your projects. Anyone?
Don't be shy, Jeremy.
What have you learned so far about Agile Sigma? Can you share?
Question.
Go, Jeremy.
What are the common problem statements that we have already applied this methodology? I mean, like for Six Sigma, it's like mostly reducing defects, right? It's focused on that aspect. How about this Agile Sigma?
Okay. Basically, Agile Sigma is focused on getting the defects out as well. And whereas Six Sigma might make one improvement, that was my experience. I don't know if, Jeremy, you can tell me if yours was different, but we would make an improvement and then we would be pushed into the control phase and that would be it. So basically, by iterating through and optimizing the process, you get all the defects out, or as many as you can, cost effectively. Okay, so it really is seeking to get the defects out, but the road to agility gives you the kind of the umbrella cultural environment to be agile, to use Agile Sigma, and for everyone to be on the same page. We're all trying to be innovative. Why? For our darn customers. Why? Because they pay our salaries, right? And if people don't understand that you got to be nimble and quick, you got to be agile today, or you're going to be history tomorrow, right?
Actually.
Yeah, so that's what it's all about, is getting people to think in an agile mindset, creating that culture, having them begin to use the tools. Then you move into a structured methodology that really squeezes all the juice out of the lemon and optimizes those processes and gets all the defects out. Okay. Did that answer your question?
Jeremy?
Yes.
All
Makes
right.
sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
think I can add to that. I think using both Lean Six Sigma and Agile Sigma. Agile Sigma offers optimization that you can't actually get in Lean Six Sigma methodology. So I think that's one of the things that I love about Agile Sigma. Okay, so maybe you can look into that as well. So Tim, we have a request. Yeah, Christian Miana. He's asking if we are giving a copy of the presentation. Yeah.
Yes, yes. I'm going to send a PDF. Korina, I'll send a PDF to you right after the call. And
Yeah, yeah. And you can distribute to the participants.
yeah.
Hi, Christian. Do you have any questions for us? You can unmute. And maybe we can help you with something.
Did you achieve liftoff, Christian? Okay.